and more Americans are joining the labor force. The share of working age Americans who have jobs at the highest level.
Total black employment is down 3 straight months now, with 635,000 jobs lost in that spell, which is the most ever in a 3-month stretch outside of the pandemic. Is that a setback for the administration, and do you?
Look, this data certainly particularly is volatile, and that is something that we understand. So it's most useful to measure in a quarterly basis over 3 months instead of one to smooth out noise, right? Because this one is a little bit more noisy. So the black jobless rate last quarter was tied with the previous quarter for the lowest on the record. So that is also important to note. So this is why we continue to say how important Bidenomics is.
These numbers a cause for concern, or are you looking at it as a blip because these are?
So what I said was this data is particularly volatile, so we have to make sure that we look at it more holistically because it's a volatile data, not later today, but in just like 30 minutes or so, to deliver on his promise to cut costs for families. That is really a big part of what Bidenomics is, to make sure that we're lowering costs for American families and also that we have an economy that works for everyone. This extreme weather, if you will, the extreme heat, and so these conditions are certainly impacting millions of Americans across country in different regions, clearly. These extreme weather patterns are alarming, but for years now, Republicans lawmakers have continued to deny the very existence of climate change that we can now all witness with our very own eyes. So they've repeatedly tried to repeal the biggest climate protection bill in history. As you all know, this is something that the president signed almost a year ago, the Inflation Reduction Act. And this is an act that is the most significant investment that any administration has put behind climate change. And so by them trying to repeal this, it is stunning, it is absurd, and it is dangerous just by what we have seen these past couple of days.
First, the president will travel to the United Kingdom. While in London, he will meet with King Charles at Windsor Castle and engage with a forum that will focus on mobilizing climate finance, especially bringing private finance off the sidelines for clean energy deployment and adaptation in developing countries.
And that the Russians may be open to a prisoner swap for Evan Gershkovich.
I do not want to give false hope. What the Kremlin said earlier this week is correct. There have been discussions, but those discussions have not produced a clear pathway to a resolution. And so I cannot stand here today and tell you that we have a clear answer to how we are going to get Evan home. All I can do is tell you that we have a clear commitment and conviction that we will do everything possible to bring him home.
On a lighter note, does the White House have any plans to join Threads?
I'm sorry, I was like, where is this going? Go ahead.
Does the White House have any plans to join Threads?
Oh, Threads. I don't have anything to preview on that for you. I'm curious about it as well. I just don't have anything to preview on that, but I know that it is getting some attention out there. Go ahead.
Secretary Yellen said in China that she wants China to play by a fair set of rules. So how can the White House make a country that engages in IP theft, forced labor, hacking, to play by a fair set of rules?
With new economic leadership team in place in Beijing, it comes at a key junction for the global economy. And so we think it's important to continue to have these conversations with China, with other countries as well. Look, they're going to continue, and I've said this before, China is going to continue to be around and be a major player on the world stage. So it is important to have intense competition, requires intense diplomacy. That's what you see Secretary Yellen do. That's what you saw Secretary Blinken do. These are the type of conversation that the president has had with President Xi and meetings that he's had with him as well. And it is important to manage this in a responsible way.